Hey folks, this is a big milestone for us. NX20 has been launched. So before we look ahead to all of the new stuff with NX20, we're going to take a look at some of the really cool major features that landed during the reign of NX19. So the first feature we really wanted to call out was NX import. This is a huge tool, a top-level command to NX that's going to allow you to import external projects into your monorepo. This has been a feature that has been asked for a long time. We're super excited to have it in here now into NX, and we'll have more information on this later. Next up, with NX Project Crystal, we introduced the ability to use inferred tasks inside of your monorepo's task graph. Now, while the ability for inferred tasks exists, and you would have access to inferred tasks if you created a new workspace, we wanted to make sure that going to inferred tasks was specifically an opt-in feature. We now have a generator that will take all of your projects using NX plugins and move them over to inferred tasks. Again, this is a generator, not a migration. And the goal here is that you can opt into Project Crystal here as much or as little as you want. Up next in the area of Module Federation, we have moved to rspack as the default bundler in Module Federation. Now you can still opt into using Webpack for our Module Federation support. One of the beauties of NX is you can treat your bundler as sort of a black box, so you don't need to know what it is or which implementation is being used, rspack or Webpack. It's just there, but moving to rspack has a lot of advantages just because it is faster. Moving on in the realm of NX release, this is our top-level command for releasing, versioning, and creating changelogs for all of your new updates to your repo. We have added support for file-based versioning to NX release, so you can choose to write files to your disk on your file system rather than using your Git comments or Git commit history as the mechanism for whether you're going to do minor, major, or patch versions. And finally, and this is a big one, we added a first-party plugin for Gradle. This is our first non-JavaScript based plugin that uses inferred tasks, as we saw before, and also has support for task atomization. This is the idea that we can take really big tasks and break them down into smaller pieces, and using distributed computing, we can make that faster. So that is everything from NX19. We haven't even gotten to the NX20 stuff. I'll make sure to put the link in here so you can follow the links to all of this cool stuff if you want to dig in deeper to that. Let's get into the big stuff that we need to know for NX20 itself. So one of the big notes we have to make here is that we are now officially moved over to the @NX namespace. We actually started this a while ago, but we have always supported the @narwhal. This is our legacy company name, our legacy npm scope. We have maintained packages in this namespace, simply just re-exporting from the @NX namespace. As of NX20, that is going away. So if you are using @narwhal in any of your package JSONs, please make the change to update it to @NX so you can make sure you're on the latest and greatest. For other stuff, you can check out our migration docs for more. We have automated ways of doing this and checking for this, so be sure to get that box checked. Up next, Typescript project references for monorepos. So this is all a part of a much larger story that encompasses all of our Typescript support. Typescript has been a fundamental piece of NX from the very start. And while we actually allowed for project references, this Typescript feature inside of NX monorepos, we never really gave you that much help in terms of maintaining them or implementing them for you. We actually had our own way of doing this inside of our what we called integrated monorepo style that was something that you can opt into whenever you create a new NX workspace. However, we've been working with the Typescript team on this, and we want to move to project references for almost all of our monorepos at some point going forward. We now support this using the -- preset Typescript option inside of our create NX workspace. This is huge. Like, this allows us to use this really cool feature from Typescript, the official way of doing sort of Typescript inside of monorepos that has come from Typescript itself. A lot of really cool stuff you can see here from the documentation, just in terms of how you can set up references and how Typescript is actually going to use this inside of build mode, for example. So this is a way that Typescript can use smart incremental builds for your Typescript projects. This will make sure that we'll find all of your referenced projects, we'll detect if they're up to date, we'll build any of the projects that are out of date in the correct order. This actually sounds very familiar to a lot of the stuff NX does, And we can actually leverage this to improve on the story for TypeScript going forward. So, like we said, using the preset TypeScript, you can get support for project references now. We've also invested in some tools like this top-level command, nxsync. And this will make sure that all of your project references inside of all of your tsconfig files are up to date. And we also have an nxsync check. This works as sort of like a lint check to make sure that your workspace is valid, that all of your tsconfig.json files are valid, given the source and the import statements that you're using inside of your actual code. So kind of in relation to this move to adopting project references, we're also changing the way we link our projects inside of TypeScript monorepos. So workspaces is going to be the standard way going forward. So way before NX20 and way before a lot of these features kind of existed, we actually didn't see a lot of support or use of these workspace features that have emerged in package managers such as npm, yarn, pnpm, and bun. So each one of these package managers have their own implementation of workspace support now. And in a very similar story to like the TypeScript project references, we have always supported actually the ability to use npm, yarn, pnpm workspaces, and also bun workspaces as of recently. But while we supported someone using the workspaces functionality of one of these package managers, we didn't really provide too much help there. And with NX20, we're going to see the trajectory of a lot of NX pointing towards this direction as well. So as we mentioned before, the TypeScript preset, we will be using TypeScript project references, we will be using workspaces functionality, and we will be giving more support in terms of making sure that these references are being kept up to date. And a lot of the stuff that normally someone would have to manually tinker with, we're going to be giving you ways of automatically keeping those things up to date. So the integrated style that we mentioned, that is not going away. You can still use the apps preset to get this kind of style to your monorepos if that's what you prefer. But moving NX from being an opinionated tool to an optionally opinionated tool, this is our goal as a company going forward. So you'll see us investing much more in sort of these unopinionated ways of maintaining a monorepo. We'll still allow for people to create their own opinions, and using NX plugins and their own NX plugins and things of that nature, they'll be able to opt into those opinions themselves. Or actually, with the ability to create your own plugins, you have the ability to codify your own opinions into your workspace itself, which is really cool. We've got a lot of content about that, but yeah, this is a really cool change in direction for NX going forward. I'm excited about it. Hopefully you're excited about it too. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are here. Next up is our official rspack plugin, Graduates from Lab. So NX Labs is this place where sort of like an incubator for ideas that we have for plugins. Ones like rspack, as you can see here, we end up bringing it into the fold. It moves from our labs repo into our official NX mono repo, the one that we maintain and put all of our effort into. And we just see a lot of promise in rspack. It is backwards compatible with all of Webpack, with all of Webpack plugins, which makes it a painless migration for folks as a bundler, people who are in Webpack and want to go to next gen bundling and just have it faster, but not change everything about what they do in the bundler side of things. It's a great option for that. rspack makes it really easy for us to just say, here's an implementation for your bundler. If you're using the Webpack implementation, rspack is a drop-in replacement for that. That is just faster, that is just better. And the NX rspack has generators to automatically migrate you over there. It has ways of setting you up automatically with this. We've invested a lot into module federation with rspack. As we had said previously, it is now the default bundler that we use for our module federation support. If you want to hear more about that module federation support, it's kind of too big for us to get into here, and this video is already way too long. But you can check out my conversation with Column here from earlier, and we're going to be doing some more NX Lives around this idea of module federation, and specifically with rspack going forward. So be sure to check that out. Column has been championing a lot of this work for module federation and rspack itself, bringing it to the Angular ecosystem. So he has his own package out here at ng rspack/nx. This is going to bring rspack support to all of your Angular projects. Simply install the plugin, generate a new app in your workspace, try it out. Here's all the instructions for that. Go ahead, give it a try. We'll probably get Column in for another NX Live just to talk about using rspack in Angular. But yeah, really cool story there. Check it out. Let's move on. ESLint version 9 updates. So NX 19.8, we highlighted that workspaces will now be created with ESLint version 9 and TypeScript ESLint version 8. This brings us in line with the latest and greatest from ESLint and TypeScript ESLint. But now also this idea of flat config is the only option supported going forward. NX users have a way of easily migrating all of their legacy ESLint config, so all of the ESLint.json files that you had. We have a way of simply converting that to your ESLint.js or ESLint.ts files that flat config pushes you into. We've done a whole video on this. Be sure to check it out. We'll put the link in the description below. Next up, NX Release, more powerful and flexible versioning. Like we said before, NX Release is this top-level command we have for releasing, versioning, publishing, creating changelogs, all that kind of stuff around that dimension of things that you need to do inside of your monorepo in terms of pushing the work that you've done out, whether that's to a registry like NPM. That's probably, NPM is probably the primary use case for this, but this is something that we want to support for deploying your applications and deploying to other registries in other languages. So it's designed to be that generic, and that's a lot of the work we have done here in NX20. So in addition to NX Release being this top level command of the NX CLI, we also now export this API release version programmatic API that will allow you to import this function as a way of scripting out your own way of releasing things. So if you have some more involved way of releasing things together or doing things in a certain order or doing some extra checks around your thing, whatever sort of Turing complete things you need to do around your versioning, we support this now via the programmatic API. It's the same implementation as we use in the CLI. It just gives you a way of using this without forcing you to use the CLI. Release groups are another example of features that we've included in NX Release. This is the idea that there are certain groups of projects inside of your monorepo that should be released together. And it lets you differentiate from other groups or things not in that group that may have their own release strategy altogether. So this idea of release groups can actually be used really well with multiple different programming languages. So you have different ways of releasing different packages inside of your monorepo. Like we had mentioned before, JavaScript has sort of always been our focus. That's where we got started. We are starting to branch out to other things like we mentioned, using like the Gradle plugin, kind of going into the Java/Kotlin side of things. This is where we want NX Release to go. So for folks using languages like Rust, .NET, Java, etc., a lot of the logic has to be implemented by yourself to keep up to date with the latest features. But in the upcoming versioning rework, the abstraction required for each new language and ecosystem is tiny and purely deals with interacting with the relevant manifest file and registry if applicable. So a lot of cool things from NX Release, from NX Core, here from NX20, and you'll see more of this in upcoming NX20 minor releases, and you'll see even more of this on the road to NX21. All right, up next is NX Import. So this is a top-level command. You just simply use NX import, and then you provide either the path or the URL of a GitHub repo that you'd like to import into your monorepo. This has been a huge feature request from a lot of folks that are looking to move their organization towards a monorepo. They have a lot of individual repos that they maintain that they want to combine into a single monorepo to get the benefits of that, while maintaining things like Git history and while making sure the ease of migrating to a monorepo repo is just there. It can be done automatically rather than being a long manual process. So like we said, not only does NX import ease the process of consolidating separate projects into one mono repo, it also maintains that original project's Git history. So now you have the full historical context of the particular project. In addition to being able to just bring in external projects, NX import will also analyze the project and provide recommended NX plugins to be added into the workspace. So if you're importing a Vite project that also has ESLint, NX import will detect that, will suggest installing the NX Vite and NX ESLint plugins into your workspace. So not only is migrating to a monorepo simpler, you can also keep your existing toolchain and keep working with the setup that you're familiar with. Next is this really cool thing that probably most people won't need to care about or recognize, but it's really cool. So local caching has always been done on the file system. We have moved, so it's essentially caching, creating a local cache for your task running so that NX can detect, hey, you've run this task before with the exact same code. Rather than actually spending the compute to build this project, let's just pull the artifact from cache. Now that whole cache can be maintained locally via a database, which is very cool because for one, it's faster, not significantly faster. NX is already incredibly fast, but this is more efficient. It's on the same order of speed. It's just a more efficient way of doing it because databases is just a more efficient way of pulling data than a file system. But in addition to that, there's also a lot of cool things this opens up in terms of ways we can leverage and gather and use data, simply in terms of how we can better optimize task running. So for example, one of the more smart things that we can do when it comes to task running is prioritize tasks that tend to fail first. So by looking at historical data of how often certain builds fail, we can try to prioritize those ones first as a way of failing faster inside of a task running pipeline where we have an order of, set many tasks to run. We want to try to fail faster rather than fail later. This speeds up the developer cycle, especially locally, so that people can, have quicker cycles, have quicker feedback. For most people, this is going to be just a black box replacement. Caching is going to work the same as it always has. The implementation behind it that most people have never had to really worry about, it's changing, but it's changing for the better. So very cool there. If you want to opt out, we have the option to do that. So you just use legacy cache true. That'll go back to the file system if you prefer that. If for some reason you've gotten more used to that and you want to stick to that, you can still do so. But yes, next up. So long derived directories. I'm happy about this one. For a long time, whenever you used NX generators, we'd ask you this question, whether you'd want to use this as provided way of creating a new project inside of your repo or derived. That question is going away now. We are going to be requiring that you always be explicit. Here's the name of the project, and here is the directory where it should go. This is a smaller change. It's one we've been working towards for a long time. In many ways, this question was just a way of easing the transition to going to that way, kind of moving away from convention and more to being more explicit about how these things go. And I think that all ties into NX being optionally opinionated versus opinionated by default. So for a long time, our plugins had always been more opinionated, saying, if you name your project this way, it should go in your libs directory inside of here. Now, out of the box, we're less opinionated. We say, give us the name, give us the directory. And if you want, you can create your own generators where you only provide the name, and by the conventions you codify, you can put that project wherever on the file system you want it to go. So that's really cool. That's it. This is a huge video. A lot of stuff to catch up on here. As always, when we drop a new release, we have automated scripts to automatically migrate you to the next version. So run this command, nx migrate latest. This is going to analyze your workspace, figure out any automatic migrations you may need to run, and put them into your file system, into your migrations.json file. And then you can run nx migrate -- run migrations. That'll actually run all those migrations on your code base. So you can automatically go to the new version without having any breaking changes inside of your repo. Yuri did a great video here on how to do this. You can check that out. And that's it. You check out the changelog. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, and you can see for all of the minor releases, major releases, patch releases, as you can see over here, all of that's here. You can find links to the GitHub information for all of the actual things that have been generated here, by the way, by NX Release, which we're dogfooding ourselves inside of NX. So a lot of cool stuff there. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for being along with us on the long ride, as you can see, from NX whatever all the way up to NX version 20. We are dedicated to taking all of that tedium of setting up repos and setting up CI and setting up release strategies and stuff like that, and making it nicer, like putting that away and out of your mind space and out of your attention, so you can focus on shipping stuff, on doing what your organization is set out to do, which is likely not maintaining the monorepo. It's likely shipping your product. So that's our goal. That's what we're dedicated towards. We've been working hard on that. And on the road to NX version 21, we'll continue to work hard on making that even better for y'all. So keep working hard. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.